Ben, let me switch a little bit topics here. You have phenomenal investments in the big data space, very knowledgeable. Very interesting to learn that you went and learned about this or wrote about distributed databases at MIT. I didn't know that about you. So where do you see the market today, and where do you see it moving in the future?
Sure. Maybe just on a high level, we could certainly whiteboard it, but at least the way that we view it is the market opportunity is just tremendous. Just a level set. We've all seen that graph of, let me just start out here, the 30x data growth, right, from 2010 to 2020, right? And look, I think everyone's seen this, with this 30x growth, but we're just right here. And that's what makes it really exciting. We're in 2015, right? So we're literally at this point where existing solutions today are hitting their breaking point, right? And you see it today. Hadoop is going to re-platform, partially or wholly, the enterprise data warehouse. NoSQL will partially or wholly re-platform the SQL world. They call it post-relational world.
Yep.
But there's so many other things that are going to happen beyond this when you can see access to data as well as access to be able to manage that data or analyze that data becomes more and more available. And we think of it as there's many different ways to be able to attack this market. And maybe I can just draw on here. So maybe just it's high-level blocks of how we see things. On the very bottom, you have the management layer. And you can certainly slice and dice this as much as you want, but this is really the data management side. This is $30 billion of market. This includes Oracle. This includes Microsoft SQL, MySQL. This also includes the enterprise data warehouses. This is $30 billion. Above that, you have analytics. This is where Datameer is. And sorry, my handwriting's not the best.
Put on the mine.
I went to engineering school, so I'm better with keys.
Same here.
And mice. But this is a $17 billion market and growing. And then I think what the more interesting part, which we'll see in the coming years, is what we call that big data apps side.
Yeah.
And if I had to take a swag at this, this is 100 billion plus.
Yeah.
And the view that we have on this market is, you could slice it up, and this is not going to necessarily be symmetrical here, but there's a replatforming as well as an expansion here.
Right, exactly.
Right, because if Hadoop costs, as you know, and we've seen it with some customers, if Hadoop is really 1/20th or 1/50th the cost, why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah.
If DataStax Cassandra is 10 times faster than Oracle, 100 times cheaper, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
Right, so this is a case where you can take some of the existing market, but you may be able to expand it even further.
Yeah.
But it just takes time.
Yeah.
Right, and you know it as well.
That's what we see, right? It's usually not 100% replatforming. We go in, there's new use cases, and then people realize how much opportunity there is, how easy it is. They realize all the benefits, and then they actually step by step moving use cases and data over, right? It's never, we're replacing Oracle or Teradata today, but it's like, can we offload something? this is easy, let's add more and more and more.
Right.
So we're seeing the expansion there.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly different areas of texture underneath that are I think really interesting. I mean, there's things along in memory. There's that are, to your earlier question, you really got to know the technology or the real use case of why does that even matter. But it will be very valuable in certain enterprise use cases more than others. I think that machine learning is very, very interesting. I'm spending a lot more time there. It's one of those things where a lot of innovation in the 80s. In the dark days, so pretty useless from the 80s until 2009 or 10. But for instance, in machine learning, now we have enough data. Now we have the right cheap, almost free computing, and then the right the new algorithms, which could not necessarily will, but could actually revolutionize how we think about natural language processing as well as images.
Right. So how you feel about things that Google's doing about deep learning and all the fascinating stuff?
I think between Google and Facebook, those two companies in particular are doing amazing things in machine learning. I mean, if you think about it, the evolution of search and the interface of us typing something into a machine and it knowing relevance, but nuanced relevance as well as learning things that are less and less human based. It's phenomenal. I think that those two companies, you'll see a lot of innovation, and at some point people leaving those companies to be able to do machine learning applications. That's what falls up under here, where you can change the outcome. You can change how you do health. You can change how you do security. You can change how you do finance because of machine learning. And it may not be completely broad-based. We could certainly talk about your view on this as well. But we are at a point, I feel like we're literally at a tipping point where you will see new things happen, new units of value being created, because now we can manage and handle the data and interpret the data more and more machine-based.
Is self-driving car part of that, for example?
Very possibly. Very possibly. I mean, that is, my guess is you could probably do a rules engine behind that. I think the machine learning specifically of that, data science and machine learning is probably helpful in there, but the real value, at least in the self-driving cars, is, in my view, something that is deterministic and doable, and Google's already doing it today.
Right.
Yeah.
And the big breakthrough was machine learning, right? So that's when they had the DARPA challenge, and they acquired basically the whole Stanford team, right? Their big breakthrough was the visual machine learning application to get their car going.
Yeah.
So where do you see those things maybe overlap a little bit, and what kind of companies you're seeing in this? I mean, obviously Datameer here, right? And we will own the whole market and grow it.
But $17 billion, right?
But what are kind of some of the interesting companies here, and maybe in this space that you're seeing, and you guys maybe tracking or invested into?
Sure. I mean, maybe just some of the companies that are on the data management side, and I always think of this as there's management, but there's also the actual architecture underneath. This includes, the Hadoops of the world, but also DataStax to Cassandra. DataStax is the enterprise grade management tool for Cassandra, which is, again, that very, very powerful database. In the analytics side, we've actually made quite a few investments in that space, because this is probably the separation between IT and business users, at least, the first division. And here, this is actually lines of business buying it. That's at least the way that we interpret it. On the analytics side, obviously we've invested in Datameer, but we've also made investments in good data as well. So kind of cloud-based analytics. If you believe that on-premise is going to go to a cloud, another dimension of shift, not only on the big data side of things, but actually it's cheaper, better, faster to be able to do in the cloud. Good data is also on the side. One that's actually, I think that we're pretty, I would say, a company that we've spent a lot of time with, and I think has a lot of unbound opportunity, is actually Agile One. So that's one of our companies that's in predictive marketing analytics. So they're the customer database. Think B2C CRM. To be able to not only analyze your customer, but be able to funnel down and segment and personalize who they are, all the way down to by zip code and persona, and they can do it not only online but offline as well. So I think they kind of straddle between apps and analytics, because they can be actually prescriptive.